Welcome everybody, this is our FAQ section for tax. So I want to thank you for joining us here first of all, and let's get right to it. So do you need a tax attorney, or why do you need a tax attorney? Well, here at Silverman Law Office, all our attorneys are tax attorneys, and what that means is we understand taxes, but that's not all we do. We help clients with all sorts of transactions, with business matters. We help them buy and sell real estate. We help them do their estate planning, because all these things taxes have a great impact on, right? So for us to do the best job for you, we need to know the tax impacts. So if we need to talk with your accountant, we talk their lingo. We help with them to get the best tax impacts for you, no matter what we're doing. So let's jump right into a deep topic. Why did you get a letter from the IRS? Well, there's a lot of reasons you can get a letter from the IRS. Number one, maybe they're doing an audit. Maybe the state taxing authority is looking at you for property tax issues. Maybe it's just a random deal. We all get random audits at some point throughout our lives. It's like winning the lottery, just in a bad way, right? So what that is the IRS pulled the rabbit out of the hat, being you, and said, we need to audit you. And so then you have to go through this process, and we work with hundreds of people on their audits. So if you ever have those issues, don't hesitate to give us a call. But remember, there's a lot of reasons to get a letter from the IRS. Let's talk tax fraud, because this one isn't talked about very often. We, in our office, we stay away from tax fraud. Tax fraud is intentionally and with purpose misleading the IRS when you knew what you're doing was wrong, right? So you think of those as tax cheats. We don't like to represent tax cheats. We want to stay away from those, but sometimes the IRS or the state taxing authority can get overzealous, and they'll want to claim that you have fraudulently filed tax returns. We've worked with a lot of clients on that to help protect them in those situations. So we want to stay away from tax fraud. We want to be in tax minimization, which that is clearly allowed. There's lots of case law that says it is every person's duty and their legal right to minimize their taxes. Matter of fact, here's a quick little fact for you. There's one section in the Internal Revenue Code that defines what your income is. The entire rest of it, all the rest of the books, they talk about what is not taxable or what are deductions from taxes. So it's pretty crazy. One little piece is what is tax, what is income, and that's taxable. Everything else takes away from that. So it's pretty neat when you get to look at that. Let's talk about if you get in a situation where the IRS says you owe money, or the Department of Revenue or any other state taxing authority says you owe money. What are your options? Well, you have lots of options. Number one, maybe you need to just go file the tax return you never filed. Number two, maybe you need to amend a tax return that you filed and it got audited. Maybe you actually owe the tax and you need a payment plan with the IRS. The last one that we see quite a bit of too is what we call creating an offer in compromise, where we go to the taxing authority and say, hey, our client can't afford to pay this, so we'll make an offer of paying this much in lieu of the total amount of tax owed. There's also a couple other things out there that you might hear called currently not collectible, CNC, or innocent spouse. So there's lots of avenues we can use when it comes to tax collections, so don't hesitate to give us a call. Let's say you get a summons from the IRS. Can you just ignore it? Not good. You definitely don't want to be Wesley Snipes. Nobody wants to be that, right? There's a guy who ended up in jail because he bought into a tax scam. And unfortunately for him, it didn't pay off well. Neither does ignoring a summons from the IRS or the state taxing authority. So you've got to respond to those. We've helped lots and lots of folks with that, so don't hesitate to give us a shout if you end up in that world either. Tax court. Tax court's a scary thing for a lot of people. We've worked with people pro bono. We've worked with people all over the country on tax court issues. It's a scary place to be, but with the right people behind you, like us, we can help get you through it. And you get to tax court when you're disputing whether or not you owe the tax, whether or not the assessment is correct, the audit is correct, and sometimes that's through an estate tax situation, right? Where maybe someone passes away, leaves a lot of assets, and the IRS disagrees with the valuation. We've worked with a lot of people on those. So folks, if you have any questions about taxes, about tax audits, about tax collections, our team of tax attorneys, we're here to help you. Give us a call. Thank you. I'm Joel Silverman, and I'm just so glad you joined us today for this tax FAQ.